Okay, so I normally don't like to start everything with just making fun of people, but tell them something you just told me about the shape of the Earth. Go
Uh,
ahead. What did you say?
yeah, so it's one of those things where I'm like, oh man, I don't know how you could ever think the Earth is flat because you think about it like, okay, so maybe it's like some next level thinking, but not too much, not much greater than like what I think the average person is capable of. Which is like, okay, the idea is the Earth is a sphere, so it's like round, so you can only shine like light on it half the time. Which is why it's like dark on one side of the Earth when it's light on the other side directly. And I was just like looking at time zones, looking at a globe one day. It was just like this big globe in this place we went to in the Alentejo region in Portugal for Christmas, and I just placed where I was in like Portugal and compared it to California, and you can see like the sun is only up in both places at the same time for like 4 hours ish. you know, like we were just saying, like right now it's, we'll just round it to 4 o'clock. It's like 3:56 here. It's 4 p.m. here. They're 8 hours behind in LA. So it's the sun is still down in LA. When the sun is finally up and it's like mid morning, we'll just go like 8 o'clock. It's already gonna be like the sun's gonna be down here, like, or at least it's gonna be very close to it. It's gonna be nighttime, and you can see it on a globe. Like they only share the lights out for a few hours, so it's just one of those interesting things I never thought about, and never really had to think about. Like if you don't travel, why would you ever think about this stuff? You know.
So listen, for those who don't know, I forget not everybody knows your voice because you pop in and out. You're like that friendly neighbor that stops by for the afternoon coffee session. Hey, this is Ed Latimore, and I feel silly introducing you every time, but I always want to because I tell people this all the time. If you do one good thing for yourself, if you give yourself one treat today, go on Twitter and subscribe to Ed Latimore. Because
Uh,
I personally, I'm gonna tell y'all something, okay? This is gospel truth. I don't look at his Twitter feed or any tweets from him while I'm drinking coffee or water, and I also have my keyboard condom. Why? He comes up with some foolishness that'll have you spitting your coffee out while you're following him and reading along. Because I got to tell you, he says some things about crack cocaine that shouldn't even be funny. Um,
You know,
but
and it's only funny because like if my feed was only that, then I don't think people would care, or they'd write me off as some kind of weird account. I don't know, but I think because I like to mix it up. I mean, I try to give a lot of just my humor and who I am. Because I mean, I make those kind of jokes in reality all the time. In fact, now I have a book, How to Catch and Kill a Crackhead, man. Like that I wrote. Like
did you title it "How to Catch and Kill a Crackhead"?
the definitive guide, not just how to catch and kill, but it's the definitive guide to how to catch and kill a crackhead. You
That's
know,
it's not okay.
you know, but it's silly because there's a whole mythology in there where I compare and set them up to vampires. You know, I don't. I'm not just calling them. I'm not just saying go kill a crackhead because that's what you should do. You know,
I don't
nah,
even.
there's
What?
a lot in there.
Oh,
You gotta have fun with these things. You
wait,
know.
wait. I thought he said that this was going to be something you were working on. I just Googled it. You already have the book. How did this get past? You know what? Everybody has free speech. How dare you? Crackhead. Aren't you going to get sued for that logo?
uh, let's hope not. I mean, maybe not. You know what's funny? When I created the logo originally, it said the Green Goblin under it, and then when I said I'm gonna put this out there and really do something with it, I like had that removed. So now it's just a goblin with a purple hat who is
Mm-hmm.
green holding a.
Look, let's move past all that because I'm not trying to get a copyright strike because of you or anything like that. So check this out. You recently joined the ranks of the expats, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
always been something I wanted to do and try. I have no idea if it'll be permanent. I know right now I'm very happy with a lot of the differences here, and I think the
Well,
things
wait,
that
tell them what here is. Just because I know doesn't mean they know.
yeah, I'm in Portugal, and more specifically about 2020. We calculated this last night about 25 minutes outside of Lisbon, 25 minutes outside of Lisbon. Very,
Mm.
very great system here. You just hop on a train, and like the train station is right around the corner, get you right into Casa Sodre, right in the center of Lisbon, like 25 minutes.
Wow. And so, how
Yeah.
is the Portuguese?
Pretty good. Or rather, I won't say that. I think like right now, communicating is fine, pronunciation fine, but this language, the hard part about this language, well, I'll just compare it to the other one that I'm fairly proficient in, which is Spanish, is when you look at Spanish written, and then you hear it, it sounds like it is written.
Mm-hmm.
The end, right? Portuguese has sounds that just disappeared. There's a lot of liaisons, like where they have the same sound at the beginning of one word and then they just run it together. And so what happens is you're not just learning the word, and you can't just learn the word as it's heard, because you'll be like, oh, where'd that e come from when you look at it written. You have to learn how it's written and how it's spoken, and then how it's said when it's following certain words, and that's like eating up a lot more brain power than I thought. But because it's predictable and not random, that helps. So but I'm not having fun. Like I don't have a problem with, like, as they call it, the verb inflection, because Spanish is
Mm.
the same way. In fact, I think most languages have a fairly high degree of verb inflection, not called English. So that's
Yeah.
just it's been fun.
Ed, vamos falar português juntos.
Uh, nah, man. We ain't talking about, like, I heard you. Can we talk Portuguese together? Nah,
No.
or let's talk Portuguese to junto. What did you say?
Well, first I must say, como vai? Bom dia, Uncle Ladrunius. He said hello in Brazil and Portugal.
Oh,
Here's the thing. I said, let's speak Portuguese together. Now, my
yeah,
Portuguese.
that okay. No, I was right. Yeah, let's speak
Yeah,
Portuguese together.
yeah. My
Yeah.
Portuguese is Brazilian Portuguese, and yours is Portugal Portuguese.
Yeah, like you say,
Um,
como bom dia. Like, yeah, like when I hear that, I know somebody is
Como
Brazilian.
vai? Como vai is like, hey,
Hey,
what's up?
how are you? Yeah, como vai is sensible. But when you say bom dia, I can hear like, that's Brazilian Portuguese. Because here it's like the D's are D's. They're not just, right?
No, it's not.
And
Yeah, they don't do that.
it's just bom dia here.
Ah. Oh
Yeah.
wow, that would sound weird. People would look at you like you had a speech impediment if you said it that way here.
Oh yeah. It's but it's funny. Like my gym, for example, is full of Brazilians. There are a lot of Brazilians here, and like we went to a cafe yesterday, and there were a lot of, and it was clearly Brazilian run, because I heard them, and I said, bon dia, okay, because they say bon dia, like I know who I'm dealing with, what I'm dealing with, and you think that's just the only difference, and I thought it was, but there are even some grammatical differences that really blew my mind, like to use the present progressive, or maybe the present progressive. Yeah, I guess that's it. Like when I say I'm learning, or I'm trying to, like, I am learning, estou a aprender, right? Apparently that is different in the Brazilian Portuguese, that you say like blah blah blah, I am learning.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah, I don't know. But someone, but my tutor, like, was like, where'd you learn to say it that way? I was like, the coffee shop person was like, oh, she must be from the South, are from Brazil, and I was like, oh, okay. So
Yeah,
I'm
there's definitely you can definitely hear a little bit of regional flavor, just like the United States. Someone from Texas, someone from New York, and someone from California are all speaking English, but they're all going to have a slightly different inflection.
yeah,
And one of the things that I tell people, and I don't know if this is the same for you in Portugal, when I came to Brazil, and I know I'm going to get my ass kicked for what I'm about to say, I intentionally knew that one of the benefits I would have living in Sao Paulo, I wanted to learn the Sao Paulo, Brazil accent and way of speaking because it inferred a connotation of education and business. I know I'm going to get my ass kicked for this. Whereas if you have a real accent, it kind of infers a little bit of bias as that, well, you're not a serious person. Now, I'm not saying I invented these stereotypes. That's not me. Don't get
right.
mad at my teeth. I'm just telling you that I know that when I speak as if I'm someone who's an aspiring Polistano, one is for someone who's born in the city, one is from someone who's born in the state, that I have a slight advantage because speaking educated Sao Paulo Portuguese gives me a bit of a really unfair bias advantage. It's kind of like it's
Right.
like
When you hear a Southern draw, you automatically make certain assumptions versus, when you hear someone speak like they're from Boston or from New York. Yeah, I mean, same idea, right? Same deal. But yeah, I really, you know what else is really cool about the Portuguese, because so many people, the English have been coming here for years. That's actually one of the big deals about Brexit, is that this will no longer, the UK will no longer be in the EU, so you won't be able to travel freely. And then they're trying to figure out how to deal with that, because there's a big expat community here in Portugal, specifically in the south in the Algarve. But one of the things that's really cool is these people have been coming here for years, and Americans come over, and we're notoriously lazy for how we approach language learning. So they're not really used to people being here who are so adamant about learning the language, and it's really nice to see the response, because it's encouraging. Like when I say things, and because I'm still like getting comfortable responding and saying things, the encouragement and support and feedback is really nice. Makes me feel like I'm making progress, and then they're excited. It's not like it's not like when you speak Spanish places, they are not. They're like, you're here, you need to be speaking that shit. Or in America, everyone speaks it, so they're like, oh, so who do you think you are? You're an author. It's not like that. Spanish is probably, for an American speaker, the most thankless language you can learn. That no one is like, no Spanish speakers like, oh, you low Spanish, cool, man. Like, but the Portuguese response is nice.
Well, what you said about Brexit, it has so many connotations that people don't really think about. And a lot of my European friends have really started to panic, because before it was just a cool theory. Now you're kind of like the dog chasing a truck. When you catch that truck, what are you going to do with it? Okay, you got it. Now what?
Yeah.
And a lot of things that they take for granted are going to go bye-bye, or the price is going to go up tenfold. I have fond memories of, there was some woman I spent time with in London who wasn't French, but she was from the mountains, and she was adamant that she wasn't French because I didn't speak her language. Her language sounded like French to me, but it wasn't. She didn't speak English, and we ate cheese from Denmark for lunch a lot. Like, that may not happen in this next few years. That concept of two people from two totally different places eating food from a third place in London, that may not happen anymore. And I'll tell you something, and again, I'm not even ashamed to tell you this one. If you're stuck in London with the culinary choices they have there, you got problems. From the UK and England are going to be mad, but listen, you've never been with a group of, and I tell the story all the time. Ed, me, you, and some other guys, we get done with the gym, go home. We say we're going to go home, take a shower. We're going to all meet for dinner. Maybe you say, hey, Watt, I want to go to a Brazilian restaurant. Maybe I say, no, we're going to go to this new African place. Maybe another guy says, no, we want to go to get Chinese. Has anyone ever said, I want to go get food from England? Of course not. Of course not. It's never happened in your life. I couldn't even put that in a movie and you would think it was bullshit.
Though, to that, generally, yeah, you're right. But there's a lot. The English breakfast is a really big deal here. Like the what the hell is it? Baked beans. an egg, some sausage. I mean, which is like no different. Okay, no different, at least to me, minus the baked beans thing, to just an American breakfast. But yeah, they market it here: English breakfast, English breakfast. That's like
explain to me the last time you had a hankering for that food combination. You know what, guys? We can go to breakfast. We can get some Belgian waffles or even American pancakes. No, I want to go get some eggs, beans, sausage, bacon, mushroom. I mean, that looks like what you
I'll
eat.
tell you what, though. Yeah, I mean, it's the closest I get to to what I want, because I haven't been able to find like here's a combination of eggs, waffles, sausage, and bacon or whatever. I mean, like I'm sure it exists. I just haven't found it. That's another thing I've learned. I'm sure it exists. I just haven't stumbled upon it. That's been now my attitude.
Well, here's the thing, Ed. As an expat, I hope you don't. I hope that you are forced to eat food from every place other than where you've been.
Oh yeah. You know, I've been very like I was saying before we went live. One of the things that I'm starting to notice is it's not so much that I miss anything. It's just those are ways of doing things that I did for so long,
Right.
and now it's a different way. It's a different thought process, and it's nice. I guess like that's the best word for it. Nice. I mean, me and my girl, we were talking last night. We were like, we're gonna have to get into Benfica, and I was like, so I was like, that's like there's the rival between the two Portuguese football clubs, right? And that's like the first time I said football club. I mean, yeah. So FC, I guess that is what FC stands for. But yeah, it's just little things, and
look at what BK said. He said, "Fish and chips, Vegemite, and Nutella is all I remotely know from English."
I don't even know what Vegemite is, and Nutella will kill me. Like if there was a recipe to put me in the hospital, because I'm allergic to chocolate and nuts. And
really? I'm allergic to nuts. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I can eat peanuts, which are technically nuts, but the other nuts, cashews, walnuts, almonds, pistachios, all that, anything that shit will put me in the hospital. Like I have 2 expired EpiPens I brought with me, plus on top of, I have the 2 new EpiPens I get when I travel, because you're supposed to get it every year because the medicine loses its potency. Because we're just, it's just not a thing I want to deal with here. Because it's not 911 here. I know what it is. It's written down, but I haven't had to use it.
It's written down so that when you start having an anaphylactic seizure, you can go find it.
The good news, right? This is the good news about my allergy. Well, I don't even know. I'm putting in air quotes. My sensitivity, because my allergy is real. While like it'll kill me like it'll kill everyone else. I think there's different levels of sensitivity, and because I'm so large and in such good shape, it doesn't hit me quickly. I think that is just hypothesis.
Hey, guys, wait. Did I hear him say I'm so large and in such good shape?
Yeah. Oh, dude, it makes a big. They told me this when I was 16, when I had a really bad incident on Thanksgiving. They put me in the hospital. Basically, the healthier you are, the more you can resist bad shit that happens to you.
Well, this is something I told you I want to get on with you and a couple other guys, because I want to talk about not just health, but I'm going to make a grand statement, and I want a few pieces of feedback, not just from you, but from some other guys that work out and do different things. Because you're a boxer. Is that how you a definition for yourself? A boxer, right?
Sure. I'm not sure if that's well, yeah, because I'm gonna fight again. Yeah, I think I'm gonna fight. So I'm a boxer. Yeah.
You've done it for money, so it's not like but.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's not like it was
jiu-jitsu, weightlifting, kettlebells. A thesis statement that I'm going to go on is that there is absolutely no downside at all for a man to have excessive muscle and low fat. There is no downside. There is no part of your life, be it physically or socially, that doesn't get better. And I say this as a fat kid when I was little. I tell people this all the time. I have a motive.
Oh yeah, and not the aesthetics are very nice, and that's what a lot of people think of. But I think as because I'm about a month away with us today, about a month away because it's a shorter month in February from being 35, and I
Mm.
think about, and I just think about, okay, that every bit of muscle I put on and keep on, I that's going to benefit me as I age. It's going to keep
Yep.
me healthy. It's going to keep me strong. Keep me resistant to disease. My insulin sensitivity is going to keep that up. So that all that is going to come together, and it's going to help me age better.
Look at that. What I did. Fat. Earning a clean death. I want everybody to go look at that one. Earning a clean death. So tell me about your weight, because one of the things I've learned traveling the world is the instant you leave the United States, you lose 5 kilos or 10 pounds for free. Just because the way the American food is set up, even healthy food is less healthy for you than healthy food in other places because in a lot of places it's less processed. Would you say that's true where you are?
Yep. uh, and that's not even like even a stretch. So first off, well, to your first statement about losing weight, instantly get off the plane. I think when I left, I was floating between 20 or 226 and 223, right? Like pretty even ish. And here, it's 218 to 222.
And
It's just
how tall are you?
I'm 6'1".
That's interesting because at 5'6", I'm 230. Just
No
totally different.
kidding.
How the human body works, you know?
Oh yeah, I think they quit. I'd have to put on so much muscle. Wow. I think the biggest I can get when I was playing football in college, I was 255.
Mm.
And it wasn't just kind of 255. I mean, I was benching. I think I was throwing up 360 on the bench and five something on the squat rack. We were. I mean, I was playing DN. I was running a 4.57. Like that was like I was a in shape kid, but I was just huge. Now not so much because I don't that much muscle. I just or rather that much weight. Once I stopped lifting every single day, my
Yeah,
body
yeah.
kind of went, okay, where are we going to sit at and be?
Where do we want to
Uh,
sit?
now,
And that's something that you said you'll be 35 soon.
yeah.
One of the reasons that I don't have to lift excessive weight and be this giant monster that I used to be, because when I was young, I got to enjoy that period. Now, as I'm rapidly approaching maturity. I'm 42 and a half years old. I don't mind saying, hey, I'm getting smaller. Every 6 months, I'm getting a little smaller. I don't necessarily look at my weight. I'm just looking at my overall, my one of the
Yeah.
reasons a kettlebell, it allows me to exercise my muscles well, but I'm not going to stay that swollenness. I don't need that anymore because I did it when I was young. Now I want to go into a, dare I say, leaner. Hey, thank you, BK. I'm glad you appreciated it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. I just like one. What some things that have changed. One, there's a lot more walking here. I've only been in a car a few times when we went out to I can't even remember where the hell I was. In the middle of the country, we went somewhere. Or we took an Uber a few times to a few places, but most times it's like walking, public transportation, walking, public transportation. The food here is just of a different kind of quality. Like I haven't had to process anything yet, at least not that I'm aware of, because even the restaurants, they're all it's all cooked and made there. Like when you order it. Um, and probably eating less as well. Just naturally. Now lately I've changed that. I've started to go. It's so easy to get protein here,
Mm.
which is it's really great, man. These little these chorisco frangos like right in the corner, all these little barbecue chicken places, man.
Yeah.
And they're great. Just go grab a chicken when I leave the gym and come back, and then if I want something else, I head over to the Tanyo, and he's got my cuts for me. And then the meat there is cheap too. The eggs are really the eggs are this is funny. The eggs are more expensive in Portugal than they are in the United States. Just on average, or at least where I lived. I used that site you gave me to compare the cost living between two cities,
Mm.
and you see it. But the eggs they're just of such a high quality. I mean, like the organic market is nearly non-existent. I mean, at least from what I've seen. I mean, there are vegan options, but that organic shit, no, because the stuff is already a lot of it is just coming that way. Like the eggs already have the hard shells and a deep orange yolk. I mean, they're
Oh, Americans don't know about that orange, that deep orange. They don't know about that.
it's good, man. Like it really is, and it's cheap. I'm like, you don't realize kind of how sick, and I don't have a better adjective for it. We in America, it's a kind of a mass sickness that we have because our relationship with food is a kind of worst of both worlds kind of deal. We, because of the way we work and the way we live, we don't have the time to cook
Right.
and deal with things. And then on top of that, with consumerism, we are constantly being advertised these cheaper, more processed alternatives. So that's what the market responds to. I mean, you'd be a fool to not respond to it if you're designing and selling food products. So right. I mean, and so you in America, it's kind of the special idea to go shop around the edge of the grocery store. Make sure you get your meats and your cheeses and your vegetables. And here, that seems to be very much a norm. There is not nearly as, or rather, meat is much easier to come by, and there's just more varieties of it and more fish and everything, and it's cheaper. And so more people are eating it, and you can see it in the. Even if I didn't have odds, I could just look at the numbers.
Yeah.
People here are generally smaller.
One of my clients does professional speaking, and I helped prepare him for a giant presentation conference he had to go to in the United States with grammar and public speaking. He called me one night because he met this girl in America, and he says, "All right, let's take you out. We're going to get some dinner together." And he said, "I don't know how you people go on dates." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, we went to he had just discovered Chili's. They had a cool commercial. Why not, right? You've never been there. Why not?" Because again, I guess he thought it was Latin food.
Man, what a man!
So here's what he told me. He said, "We went there. He looks through the menu. He tells me we want this to start with, and then this, and they ordered 2 whatever fruity drinks they were going to have." And he said they brought the first part in like 10 minutes. The second part, 10 minutes after that, then they were looking at you like, "Aren't we leaving now?"
Right. Oh, goodness. That's another really big thing.
He said, "How do you talk to women when the food is small, not as good, and you have to be gone in like 35 minutes?" He's like, "I came there to really, lay it down on this girl. He's got this Brazilian swag about him." And he was like, a half an hour later, the waitress is like, "Can I get you anything else, sir?"
Very different. That's another, man. Dude, the first time you experience that, where they're not like, "Yo, you got to get out now," that is very unsettling. You're like, "Where's the waiter? Because they're not bringing water, not constantly checking. Do you need anything else?" Right? No, it's just like, "All right, man. Well, if you need something, you'll find us, right? But we're not really stressed about getting you out of here." And that's real different. Like we were walking down. Where the hell do we go? The San Pedro de Estoril, this beach, and we just hung out. There was a little cafe, got some dinner there. They didn't try and push us out, man. They were just like, "All right, cool, chill." You literally shouldn't.
If you come out here to hang out with me in Brazil, and we hang out with my friends, if you try to leave any sooner than maybe 2 hours, they're gonna think you're being rude.
Right.
They're gonna be like, "Why did Ed have to go home so early? Is he just don't like us?" I'm like, "Well, it's been 2 hours." They were like, "And?"
Yeah, we don't have right. So there's another worse of the worlds we're getting, is we don't have the ability to enjoy anything, and even if we had it, the stuff is not that enjoyable, and so they're just, even when you just see, even on the train or the metro or in person, man, people just there's a real community. There's talking, there's enjoyment for one another. It's just, and it's not centered around, "Let's go get drunk at the bar." Like, this is at the coffee shop, man. There's coffee shops everywhere. People just sitting around talking, hanging out with their friends. You know what? And you know what's funny? Down in Entre Campos, which is just an area with a lot of students, there are McDonald's here. Which funny, I still haven't seen it. I know there's one Starbucks apparently somewhere in the country, in Lisbon. I haven't seen it, but there's a Starbucks here. I mean, not a Starbucks, a McDonald's here, and I'm we think of McDonald's as quite literally fast food. That's what we call it. You come in, you get the food, and you bounce. Man, they didn't set this place up, and they're out hanging out, drinking espressos and chilling and talking, and it was very much like you couldn't even really call it McDonald's except in like I guess franchise name because of the
Well,
environment.
here's the question. Here in Sao Paulo, my friends, and I have to fight all the time because they want to go to these American places. I didn't know that Domino's had like a Domino's sit down
Yeah,
restaurant.
dude, there's freaking fucking the Domino's and Pizza Hut everywhere here, man.
I was like, well, first of all, I don't want to go get American fast food. And second of all, if I did, I'm not paying these prices. For the price they want you to pay, I could go down to a local corner restaurant where I can actually look at the cook in the back and wave at him, get an entire chicken for dinner, a side of vegetables, and a roll. And I'm like, why would I want that for myself?
Yeah, dude, that is another big thing. I mean, that's probably my favorite thing here. Like that if I had to pick one thing that like if slash when I go back to the States that I cannot take with like that I gotta bring back the restaurant. There's so many. There's no chain. I mean, I'm sure there are chains. We don't eat at them. Why would we? You can walk right in, see the guys, hang out. The Indian food here is something else, man. Like it is, it's real good. Like I got nothing else for it. It's great. It's rich.
Be careful. Be careful with Indian food. You know that as someone allergic to nuts, because
particularly the biryani. I know, man. I learned that shit the hard way like 10 years ago.
Because they also cook with peanut flour.
Yeah. I can eat. Yeah, I can eat the peanut stuff. But some things like we used Uber Eats here the other night and had from this place cinnamon. I don't know why they call it cinnamon. This they call it, but it's a great Indian restaurant we found around the corner. It's like we want some of that food, but we don't want to walk to it. It's like 9 o'clock, so we had them deliver it. And she got the biryani, and it was like full of nuts. Because here's what's funny. Here's how I found out about biryani and how they use nuts. It's crazy how much just time flies. 10 years ago, I got some mix from an Indian store in Pittsburgh where I was living, and it said on the thing may contain trace nuts. Now, usually when I see that in something made in America, it's fine. I can eat it. It's not a big deal. I ate this stuff, man. I had to miss my little shit job I had at Starbucks, man. I was in bad shape. I probably should have went to the hospital.
Do you call biryani? Is it what we would call naan?
No, the naan is fine. The biryani is a type of an Indian dish. It's got rice and nuts in it. Yeah. No, that's the other cool thing about Indian food. It's the same everywhere. No, you have it. I'm sure you have it. The biryani because it.
So look what BK said. He said, truth about American dining versus the world. In the States, we barely understand how to hang out while eating. Small local eateries are the main place to do that in the States. Yeah.
And the problem is, right, the problem is because everything is so consumer driven in the United States that if you have a place that does that, you kinda are you're gonna have to make a sacrifice. How are you gonna get the profits in, right? And that's what people don't fully realize about the Starbucks business model is that their coffee is so expensive because the original idea was to have you come in and hang out, but just
Right.
like everything else that touches America, it got morphed into how can we serve the most customers in a fashion that will keep them coming back most consistently. So let's dump sugar and everything. You can still get a black coffee, but they look at you like, you sure you don't want no syrup in that? Like, no, just get my damn coffee,
Yeah, people, and again, my Brazilian friends get mad at me because they're like, hey, let's meet for coffee tomorrow. And I'm, oh yeah, I know this little coffee shop around the corner. It's this lady there who works there. And they're like, let's go to Starbucks. I'm like, well, wait a minute. First of all, we're in Brazil. Do you understand the coffee from this country In America and all over the world, people pay top dollar for this.
Yeah.
If you want to go to Starbucks, or what's taken over Brazil, corporate America, and homes are those little Nescafe where you put the thing in and you clamp it down. Now, here's the crazy part. Nobody likes it, but they get it as a status symbol. You know, one of my clients was an attorney, and we would go in the morning to have roughly a 2-hour meeting once a week, and they would have a coffee thing, and they have the little press where you put the cup in. And the first couple of times I came to that, and then one day I went in the back office, and they had a regular coffee set up where you pour the hot water, and and I was like, well, how come I never get this? They said, oh, we wanted to give you the good coffee. No, the coffee you're drinking is the good coffee. Why are you
right? That's funny,
like,
man.
oh, okay, we didn't know if you wanted plain Brazilian coffee. Yes, thank you.
Fortunately, I've only had those. That's like the last resort here. Like I had a few places tell me, oh, okay, there you go, Indian style fried rice. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
Thank you, So yeah, that's the thing that gets me. So here's the thing: we've looked at the one side of the coin. We know you're eating good out there. How's the training going? Because as I said, you punch people in the face for a living. So how are you boxing out there? Are you just purely hitting the weights? What
no, what I'm doing is so before I left, I had a talk with my coach, because I'm not going to fight with anybody else but my coach. I don't like the sport. It's weird, it's like a combination of things, and one of the things that ultimately would allow me to have any success if I do this and try again would be to be with my coach. There's no question about that. But I moved around a little bit, and he said, you clearly know and understand a lot more than you did before. But one of the things he said was, he said, I just got distracted because I saw these pictures. Wow.
I like your eyes in that picture right there. It looks like you just came back from the worst possible training day of your life, and now you want to beat your opponent unconscious.
Didn't quite turn out that way though. But that's funny, man. About 4 years ago at this point. That's crazy. Well, it'll be 4 years in September completely, but we're now in 2020, and I lost in 2016. But he's like, I like how you're moving around and things, but you still didn't look that strong when you took the hit yet, which makes sense. I mean, it takes a long time for concussions to heal. So what I'm doing here is I'm not getting hit. I actually intentionally, before I left, I had all my gear packed up. Then we moved around, and my coach made the suggestion. So I unpacked all my gear. So all I'm doing here is getting strong. I like getting back to the level of strength that I would like to have competition, because when I fight again, I'm not fighting at heavyweight. I'm going down a weight class because I'm just not big enough to compete.
What do you consider a sizable heavyweight now? Like at 6'1", where you are now, how much do you think you have to weigh?
I'm not tall enough. That's half the issue. Is that I don't have the height. But if I had the if the height was going to work out for me, I probably should be moving around at 240. But even then, I won't be as agile. Like Anthony Joshua is freaking. He's 6'5", 6'6", and he was moving around in his last fight at 237. Like the trade off just isn't there anymore. Like for me to get for the level that I'd be forced to compete at, and where I think I just don't think I have the best chance being a pure heavyweight, the way my body takes hits. Now, any of that could change, or rather we could go in there and all of a sudden I feel like I can do it, but I don't really want to. Like one of the most exhausting things is how easy it is to push me around. I don't like that. So I was like, you know what? And we talked about this even before when I was competing, but it made more monetary sense to go heavyweight at the time. There wasn't as much opportunity available because apps weren't a thing yet. Apps really changed the game and brought some attention to other divisions and areas. And plus, I'm not fighting for the money anymore. It's just something I want to try and do and see how well I could because when I was a pro, I never had a full straight camp that was without distraction. I was either in school or dealing with the military, things like that. I was like, let me see this is what I can do, and then go and do it lighter at that, because right there, that's what he said. I mean, 6'4", 240, that's closer to, well, much closer to cruiserweight. Like, and here's the thing: cutting weight is especially if you got a good coach, and I do have a good coach, and you know things. Cutting weight now is easy, man. If I'm walking around at 220 and I got to get to or at 220 and I got to fight at 200 pounds, that's a week of cutting weight.
But now let's do this. Let me do two things. One, we need to talk about weight cutting. I wanted to give everybody some context for this picture. This picture was probably 12, 13 years ago. I weighed maybe 205 pounds. At 5 feet 6 inches tall, I was in Thailand doing kickboxing, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but I was doing kickboxing during the day and jiu-jitsu. And man, those were some good days. I had it was just wake up in the morning in Thailand, do some kickboxing in the morning, run a half mile, not quickly, not quickly, and then jiu-jitsu at night. But our coach, who doesn't speak, he was one of my coaches who doesn't speak any English. He put me on the scale and he looked at me. He just shook his head and he dragged me to a chart on the wall. And after I did the conversion, he said I should weigh no more than 180 pounds at most, meaning they were going to try over the next 3 months to beat 25 pounds off. And when I say beat 25 pounds off me, I'm not speaking in metaphor. I mean, you know what it's like when you have to ask yourself, wait a minute, I volunteered for this today. I just ran. Now I'm about to do 5 rounds on a heavy bag, just punching, another 5-round kicking, then 2 or 3 rounds of pad work, and then, well, you did good today, so I'm gonna let you spar a little bit. Really? Thanks.
Yeah, there's optimal bodies for everything, man. Like that that's not clearly he's right at 5'6". I mean, yeah, what are you gonna I don't know what the weight classes are for kickboxing. I know them for MMA and I know them for boxing, but yeah, you should be a welterweight. There's or maybe a small middleweight. Yeah.
Yeah, and here's the thing though. For me, I'm fortunate I can get away with a little bit more grappling in jiu-jitsu because of my body type. I've got that my body is like a combination between a fire hydrant and a rhinoceros. So I can get away with a little bit differently. Like, let's see, trying to find one of me when I had, I've never had a totally flat stomach, but I've never had abs, but I can get to the point where I've got a flat stomach and you can see a lot more size on my arms. So when you've got that broad chest and thick arms, you can do a lot of grimy stuff on the mat.
Yeah. But like, the heck were you going to say about weight cutting?
When you talk about weight cutting, because weight cutting is, in every sport that I know of, the scourge of their existence. The concept of losing 10% of your body weight in how many days? I can't think of why that's still legal. I can't think of why there are not more restrictions. Like ONE FC is a company that has a rule where they check your body weight like once every couple of months, and you can only fluctuate inside a certain window. Because we know that as men who have both been punched in the face, me as an amateur, you as a professional, there is nothing good about having lost 20% of your body weight over the past how many days to make a weight class, then try to rehydrate over the next 24 hours. Civilized fighters, how do we justify weight cutting?
Well, it's like, you know what? The same way we justify powerlifting, right? There are the back squat. That's a better way to be more specific. The same way we justify the back squat. There is a correct progression way to do it, and then there's a way a lot of people do it, which puts undue pressure and on the spine and ruins their back and knees before they're 40. The correct way to be, there are a few correct protocols to cutting weight, but there aren't that many correct ones. You either do it over time correctly, watching, existing in a deficit, but not too much of a deficit with the right foods, or you can dump water all at once in a small window of like 72 to 96 hours and then bring it back. And because you weren't doing it all camp, you don't have any damage, and you're only going to be on the scale at that one point. For you only get hit that weight one moment. The problem is when these guys they just jack it up completely. You can safely cut, especially if you're over 160 pounds. You can safely cut a decent amount of, I would say, 10% of your body weight. You should exist in there. You can do that probably within 48 hours the right way, right?
What are you cutting? First of all, you're cutting, from what I understand, and by the way, what you said about squats, like one of the things that made me, I left squats for a while, and then I'm going back to them now because I was one of those guys. When I was young and I've got this giant body, I mean, I value my kneecaps, and I don't want to be like some of the older cats that I knew that were doing these brutal squats. And then at my age where I am now, some of them younger, they're walking funny.
Yeah. But what were you saying about what is getting cut?
Well, I've read about how a lot of that fluid comes from the fluid that separates your brain from your skull. Because when you're cutting that quickly, let's be clear, you're not cutting fat. You're not losing fat in that 48-hour period. What you're losing is liquid off of your body.
Yeah. And that, okay, so right. Now I'm not gonna say you should be cutting like 30 pounds in a week, like nothing crazy like that. The idea is that you exist throughout your camp and your training. You exist, let's say within 15 pounds of your target weight, and you get a little more, we'll say 10, and you get a little more leniency the heavier you get, because because the same percentage is just a bigger number. 10% of 16 is smaller than 10% of 2, or 10% of 160 is smaller than 10% of 200, right? And then so you exist, we'll say within the 10% range, whatever your target weight is, and you get there throughout the course of your camp by working out and eating smart, right? And then you just have this little water dump, and 10% is not particularly a lot. I mean, you want to talk about not coming off of your brain. Think about, I don't know if you ever weighed yourself like prior to a good workout, and you see how much you lose in sweat. Imagine doing that without any salt in your body for 2 days. You'd probably lose a bit more water. Not probably, you will lose a bit more water. It doesn't get down to the issue with these guys, and you look at these deaths in boxing. There's a lot of them occur, if not all of them actually have occurred under 152. I think 152 is the heaviest.
Yeah, that is something interesting. Heavyweights don't die in boxing.
No, because there's just, one, they're not cut. They never cut weight. But forget heavyweight. You can go a bit lower. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever died above middleweight from cutting, and middleweight to 160. When you do it. And what is it? You had 16 pounds before you're losing 10% of your body weight. And if you were coming from 170, you got 17 pounds to lose to get down, and you only got to make the weight class that's 10 pounds below you. If you do it right, you're just not losing enough to be in the danger zone. The issue is when you're walking around at 145 and you got to cut to, like, let's say 130. Well, that's 15 pounds, right? Well, what's 10% of 145? 14. Now we're in a danger zone. Now you got a problem.
And I say this is specific to boxing because I know guys that have wrestled since they were under 10. And I know guys whose families really are angry at them because they've got a 10, 12-year-old kid talking about cutting 5 pounds for a wrestling meet. Yet I don't know wrestlers that end up talking funny and having all these weird issues with it, because again, we can't forget that concussive force. Right. The good thing is, and this is something you, me, and a few other people who watch can relate to, very few people have been hit by someone who knows how to hit them.
Right. Oh.
And that's very, like, everybody's been hit in a street fight, but I understand one of the things that helped because I was bullied a lot as a kid. But as I grew into manhood and got into boxing and kickboxing and understood what it's like to get hit by somebody who knows it, you're a lot less afraid, of someone who doesn't, because it's a very different concept.
The mechanics are different. It's funny. I see these fight videos on the internet, and my first thought when I look at almost every single one of them is, thank goodness these people have no idea what the mechanics of a punch are, because they would really do damage. But, if you have the discipline to learn the mechanics of a punch, you probably aren't going to get into a street fight.
Right.
It's just because learning how to punch correctly, that's not, it's not intuitive, for one. We tend to think of winding up and throwing a punch, and reality is you kind of got to snap from your hip and move your shoulder without hitching back. And, that's where the speed comes from.
Or like in kickboxing, the thing that they talk about is when you're kicking, dropping your shoulder, which you don't. It's not intuitive that when I'm delivering a back leg power kick, to drop my shoulder really hard so my body can rotate over in that kick. And I'm not a kickboxer. I'm an amateur. I had one amateur fight and I lost because I got tired halfway through the second round. Again, the difference between fighting, even recreational, street fight, which I haven't had, too many, just a couple, when I was bullied getting a kid. But when you are in a real fight and your body tenses up and it's just you, him, and the ref, and you're going for boom, 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 break, boom, 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 and you realize that intensity sets into you halfway through the second round, and it was an amateur fight. You know what an undercard is. Whatever is below undercard, that's where me and this other guy were. We were in college.
Oh, jeez.
That's where we were. We were the guys that were fighting while everybody was getting their seats. And it was like halfway through the second round, I got hit and I couldn't turn back around fast enough. And the referee, all shout out. I will never second guess a referee. That's one thing I will never do, because they can't win. When he saw me not turn back around fast enough, he just grabbed me. He was like, "No, thank you for coming." And I'm always grateful for that, because I've seen guys who let their ego get in the way.
And just they want that was the man. I can't remember the name of these guys, but I know he had I know his coach was Buddy McGirt, and he was telling him he didn't want him to go in. He wanted to stop the fight. He was like, "No, don't stop the fight," and he ended up dying. I think he did stop the fight though. I'm not sure what the outcome was, but yeah, the fighter's job is not to decide how tough already he is. That's what the team is, because the only correct response for the fighter is, all right, let's go. If anything, that's like one of my weaknesses as a fighter, is that I have to shut down that part of my brain that analyzes and looks at a situation and tries to make the best one. And instead, I have to trust the people around me to do that. And if they don't make a decision, then I have to go, well, they decided not to because, I'm a certain way or whatever. But no, that's the disadvantage of being a thinker in an aggression sport, man. You just gotta go fight. You have to fight. And even if you think and right on the other end of it, right, if you're going to get into trouble, this is usually where this is supposed to come in, is they're supposed to keep you from doing something stupid. The worst are the guys who really believe that they can beat this person, as opposed to objectively going, okay, he's got X, he's got Y, he's got Z, I've only got X and Y. If Z comes into play, if X and Y are, all equal, then Z is going to break me down. Maybe I shouldn't. And you can't think like that. But a lot of people aren't even capable of it. Certainly.
Right. Well, I remember a man whose name, was before the internet, I believe. His name was Dennis Passaretti. He was a kickboxer, martial artist in Providence, Rhode Island, where I was doing kickboxing after college, after school. And I remember there was basically a bunch of us that started at the same time in the school year. And about 2 months in, he ended class, cool downs about 10 minutes early, had everybody sit down on the floor, sit on the mat. And he sat down, he says, I really am proud of how far you've all come in these past couple of months with learning and being disciplined and showing up every day, because he was old school. He had a chalkboard with everybody's name. He knew how many rounds you had done that day, and he would always mark how many rounds on the heavy bag, how many. And he said, before you even take an amateur fight, I need to know you've done this many hours of jump rope, this many hours of speed bag, this many hours, and he kept track of it. But he said, listen, the thing that people don't understand about fighting that I don't think you young men quite get, the object isn't just to punch the other guy. You have to start to work a defense of some sort. You can't just hear the bell ring and just come at the other guy. And I'm so guilty of this. I was like, ah! And he was like, you're going to come across somebody who knows how to pivot and then just punch you in the face.
Yeah.
And what happened to my big dumb ass? I have a buddy of mine. He's left-handed. And which way do you circle against an orthodox fighter?
Orthodox, you always circle away from the power hand. That's the So if he's orthodox, you'd circle to the left, and if he's
southpaw
to your over the left. If he's orthodox, you circle to your left, right?
Yes.
And if he's southpaw, you try and stay out, or the other way around. I'm thinking about the guys facing me, right?
But
away from the power hand. Yeah,
it's easy to remember that on a couch. The bell rang. I got out of the first round, no problem. We traded a few shots. Second round, what happens? You get tired and you revert back to whatever your habits are. Mm-hmm. That's why coaches, they train you until you die. Because whatever you're going to do when you've got no injury left, that's what you're going to do when you get punched in the face real hard. And what did my dumb ass do? Which way did I circle? Right into the power hand. I never felt it. I just remember waking up and he had his hand in and he pulled out my mouthpiece and he said, good job tonight. I'm proud of you. And I was like, what happened? He said, guess. I'm just looking at my friend who was left-handed, and he was a bit of a pretty boy. That's why he was a buddy of mine, but everybody couldn't stand him because he was always concerned about how handsome he was. And sure enough, the next week he got his nose broken.
Yikes.
Well, here's the thing. I've never seen my coach lie to anybody about their talent, but when this kid got kicked in the face, his nose went like this. And he grabbed his face, and the coach grabbed his hands and pulled him down. He looked at him, and he was like, oh my goodness, my face, is my face okay? And the coach looked at him and just lied to him. He's like, oh yeah, you'll be okay. We'll just take you to the hospital in case anything is wrong. Because if he knew his nose was busted that bad, he would have freaked out right there. It was hilarious. So just going back to this thing, when we're talking about fighting, and as civilized men do, can we come up with a better system than cutting weight to let someone who should be a weight higher? Because logic would dictate if you simply fought within a few percentage points of where you normally are, everyone would remain equal. Why is it that we even allow people to say, listen, I know normally I'm 230, but I'm going to be at 200 for this fight, so I'm going to lose that 30 pounds in a couple weeks?
Okay. Is there a better way to do it? No. I mean, because right now what they have set up is pretty good in my opinion. But people are always going to game a system for its maximal advantage. One of the reasons why some of these guys have died is I believe it's the IBF guys who know better who are watching will know exactly what I'm about to say and they'll correct me. But one organization does have the weigh-in, right? They have the weigh-in the night before, and then they have the weigh-in the day of the fight, some hours before the fight, like 4, I think maybe. And you're only allowed to gain a certain amount of weight prior to that, or in that period. And what guys do instead, you would think that would deter the cutting, but all they does instead is because remember, you got to remember the kind of guys that fight, they're not sitting on millions and making a decision to go do this. No, fighting is a poor man's sport, and these people are like, this is a paycheck, I gotta eat. So Yeah, they done all this training and everything. So yeah, of course he'll cut the weight and then stay in that weight range and then go take the risk because that's how we're taught and trained. Fighting, it's a risk. That's what it is. You know, I tell people all the time. So I'm a die. They're like, aren't you worried about the brain damage, or whatever? I'm like, I mean, not really. I'm gonna die anyway. And that is the mentality. And remember, I'm a thinking person saying that. You know, imagine the guys who don't have the options that I have. They probably, I mean, they believe it too, probably with a few other things.
Well, I'll tell you something interesting. What you said about a poor man's sport. One of the things that made this guy, BJ Penn, who for many years was a phenomenal fighter, he hasn't aged well in that he never was able to let go of his fighter's identity, and he's crossed into an age of his life where he hasn't redefined himself, and it's caused a lot of problems. He's done what a lot of fighters do after fighting, fell into some bad decisions, wrong crowd, because there's nothing in life, and I will tell people this, I've only done an amateur kickboxing match and a bunch of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments. I've gotten a few gold places, a few silver. There is no rush in the world like hearing a bell ring and it's you and another guy, and one of you is probably going to go unconscious. And when it's not you, there's no drug in the world that can get you.
No one can tell you, nothing can tell you anything. Yeah.
My goodness. Remember, it only hurts if you lose. If you lose, all your injuries hurt. But if you win, I'm limping with my little ceremonial trophy they gave me at Denny's afterwards with the trophy on the table.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true, yeah.
What made BJ Penn phenomenal, and this is one of the things that most people don't appreciate, he came from an extraordinarily wealthy Hawaiian family. And everybody said there's no way that a rich man or the son of a rich man can become champion, but he was one of the very few. But normally, you find that guys who have another choice fail at fighting. Who was it? There was a guy who became third in the rankings. His family was from Argentina, but his father was a world-renowned doctor. His mother was this double PhD educator. And the reason they said that the bookies knew how to manipulate people's gambling, they said he has choices in life.
Yeah, because there's no reason to be doing it, man. Like, so you're not gonna get rid of this because people will figure out ways to game and work the system. They're like, the only way you could get rid of it, they're not willing to put the resources into it, and that would be to track a guy's weight from the day he signs the contract. Give him some leniency to get to a point, maybe, and then watch it throughout the camp, and then have someone make a decision. Like, but that shit's not going to happen, man.
Like you see this guy, Derek Lewis, the Black Beast.
Yeah,
he doesn't have many options in life where he came from. That's why he's been beating people unconscious routinely.
Yeah, like what else is it gonna be? I mean, dude, and hats off, man, because once you know you can do something else, the training, that's one of the things that I fear. I mean, because I don't, like, if I go back and train, how hard will I train? Like, I'm going to have to get inside my own head and work and do that. And because you can't, certainly not the level they're going to force. And when I say force, I mean, because of my record and my experience, the commission would go, okay, he was out for 3 or 4 years, and like, let me get a freebie in. But after that, everyone, no one in their right mind is going to be like, oh, okay, here's a guy, let's give him an upside down can. Plus, I wouldn't want that anyway, so it's that kind of thing where you're like, okay.
Explain the verbs. You just used a phrase that people outside of fighting might not know. An upside down?
Oh, where he's got more losses than wins.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, and like, no one's gonna. There are very few guys who would get approved to fight someone like me and what I've gone through and done, even after coming off of a layoff.
Now, what was your record when you suspended your license? We'll say for a while. Is that true in boxing? You hang up your license and you go back and get it?
So what happens is your license expires anyway, and like either like I during the time when my license was not because now it's expired. You would just. I could fight whenever, even if I had taken a year off, as long as my license was whatever. And then when it expires, just go renew it, get it filled out. Assuming you aren't suspended by any commission and you don't have any felonies somewhere that you haven't dealt with, things like that. but yeah, no, my record was 13-1-1, and then no one is gonna very few commissions, because what happens is they look at everything. They look at like the quality of the opponent and your experience and your age and stuff like that. So that's why I said if I my first fight back would be like, they be like, all right, this guy hasn't done anything. Let's see what happens. And if I come out and like knock somebody out in the first round, they're gonna be like, okay, well, there are only a few places we're gonna let you fight somebody who's garbage. Every place else, you're gonna have to come in against the real guy. This is what people don't get. Well, I mean, now granted, you can manipulate that system, whatever, but for the most part, while they bring fighters along and perhaps baby them, it's not really babying them that much, right? I mean, like from a financial perspective, you don't throw them in there with a killer initially. You don't even throw them in there with a killer when both the killers are coming up. You kind of wait till those guys have some money and you can make a return on it. Boxing's a rough sport, man. At least in America, I hear the system is a little different here, or actually in anywhere else in the world where they aren't competing with the big four, the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, and the MLB, and that takes a lot of money, resources, and talent away from the ring and the octagon. Because remember, if you there are very few guys in America where boxing was the first sport choice who are purely American. Now, in has or rather who are not of a Hispanic heritage. Boxing is still that thing in a lot of Hispanic households, particularly in Florida, Texas, and Southern California, but not so much for the rest of the world, the United States.
So let me tell you how little I trust boxing and boxing commissions. Who is that Cuban man on the screen?
That's Louis Ortiz, right?
Now let me ask you a question. Try not to laugh. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
So how old is he?
Okay, so this is funny as hell, man. They keep trying to find out. They keep telling us. The first they told us he was 40. Then now water on the campfire. I know a few guys in the game. Water on the campfire is that motherfucker 50. And is it I'm not sure which one is right, which one is wrong. But here's the thing. He outside of Deontay Wilder, he's beating people. Like it's not like we're looking at a guy who's clearly on the last, or what do they call him, the back nine, I think is the phrase. Like he went up against who will realistically go down is as one of the best heavyweights in history, or certainly the one.
I agree. I'm not a boxing fanatic. I agree, but let's look at the other side. How easy is it to manipulate these commissions when they can't even with 100% certainty how old this guy is?
Oh, right. Well, you know why that is, though, right? Because he's a Cuban defector. So they actually don't know, like they don't have his records. I mean, they can try and find them, but he's a defector. So when he came here, he got a whole new everything, and then it was just all right. Let's see where it goes. But that's one of the reasons why they can't because normally what you would do is like you'd submit your driver's license and your social security card and whatever you put down is whatever you put down. And so they're telling us he's one age, but he ain't that age, man.
Or let me give you another example of why people talk about commissions. I've seen, and this is why I don't trust commissions. If people in baseball cheat, I genuinely don't care. If people in football cheat, I really don't care. But when it comes to combat sports where people are getting their skulls cracked open, you can't be careless, about things that you just can't allow.
You can alter somebody's life, man, because you're not following the rules. Here's another big thing about fighting, right? The resources to test. Now, granted, they're getting cheaper, thank goodness, but to run a full panel, I mean, I think the most extensive blood test ever. Oh right, yeah, that fight.
Explain to me how that fight got licensed. Explain to me how that fight became legal.
Well, it becomes legal because McGregor's a champ. Okay, so that's the other thing too. and this is an amateur sports as well.
Well, let me back up. For people
Yeah.
who don't know, the black guy is Floyd Mayweather. The white Irish guy is Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor is a world champion mixed martial artist. Floyd Mayweather is arguably the greatest boxer, some would say ever. Okay.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't, but he's definitely the best, one of the, if not the best of this.
We can have that. We'll have that.
That's a different. That's a bit of a debate. But the point is, to answer your question, how does that get?
Yeah, because here's the thing: Floyd Mayweather has never done a mixed martial arts fight, and Conor McGregor is not a boxer, so they never should have been able to say, "We'll let this fight go." Not only are you going to come in to fight a boxer, you're going to fight the top boxer and the top. Oh, wait a minute, the top draw. So now what does that do? It puts money in the pockets of a commission. So they have every reason in the world to license a fight where, if anybody who knows anything about fighting, watch this, you know.
They knew it was going to happen.
Floyd Mayweather, basically, what do you call those things that women put a baby in so they can spin them around and carry him on their back?
He carried him. I was telling people.
He picked him up and just said, we're going to put on a good show for these people. Don't do anything stupid, and I'll let you walk away.
Right. That's pretty much what happened, right? As far as how it gets licensed, I actually have no problem with that, because I know, like, when you go to fight amateur, one of the things they ask you is, do you have professional combat sport experience? If you fought professional as an MMA guy, you can't fight amateur as a boxer. You just can't do it. And I believe the inverse of that is true, though. The differentiation between professional and amateur MMA is not nearly as great as the differentiation between professional and amateur boxing. So I didn't have a problem with that. But you do raise a great point, though, is how does the fight get approved at that differential of skill level? And I'm sure someone sat there and was like, "This is gonna bring a lot of money in." Hey, it's fighting, man. It's a hood sport, man. It is. Fighting in general is like the least noble of the sports, right? Or rather, I'll rephrase. If you walk into the boxing gym, you are there because you couldn't, given the financial incentives of all the other sports and the glory and the glamour that comes with it. That means you couldn't dunk a ball, you couldn't run the 440 and 40, the 40 and 4.4. You couldn't catch, you couldn't throw, but you could bang. This is a thing that affects boxing to this day in our country. We don't have the best athletes playing the sport anymore, because the best athletes usually end up somewhere else. You imagine if LeBron James grew up in the 70s and when boxing was the golden era. What was the goal in sport? And he said, I'm going to go punch, not shoot the ball. Or take any guy who makes it to the NFL. Those guys are the great athletes, and they're not interested in punching. There's just more money and more glamour in the other sports. So what
you said about being the least noble sports and testing, as someone who, and I want to be careful with the way I phrase this and the way you say things. You are an active fighter. I do not want you to incriminate anybody that you have seen in the gym. No, I'm serious, because
I know what you're saying.
I don't want you to accidentally be like, oh, this guy, and get somebody else jammed up. I personally, from conversations we have, I believe you've never taken an injectable that was not on the list of substances. And by the way, for people who don't know, anything that's on the list of acceptable substances from the Doping Association doesn't work. Anything that does work is on the list.
Water, yep.
Okay. And I say that at 42 and a half years old, I can tell you one of those stories I love to tell people. My entire life, I stayed away from drugs, alcohol, wore condoms during sex. I'm so glad I didn't discover steroids until I was 37, 38. I tried my first true steroid cycle at 40 years old. And I can tell you guys, as a man who is older, 42 and a half years old, who's not going to be a professional, I can tell you folks, steroids are awesome. If you have your doctor with you, you're monitoring your blood work, and you're not going in to professionally beat someone up. It's really, at 40, everybody should be on at least testosterone. But you can't if you're a professional athlete, because that would be cheating. And quite frankly, I don't care if a professional basketball player throws the ball into the hoop better because of steroids. I don't care if a professional soccer player kicks the ball farther. I don't care if a baseball player hits the ball farther. But when it comes to punching people in the skull, I think the first time should be a warning. The second time should cost you everything. Your license, all your money. Because when they talk about funding steroid test programs, the money is there if we want it to be there. But any professional booker, any professional sports agency knows if we get rid of steroids, that everything is less exciting. What happened to baseball when they cracked down on steroids?
Yeah, that's true.
When they crack down on steroids, people don't do things as well because, and I also want to tell folks, everybody thinks they know what steroids are. You really don't. The stunning and overwhelming majority of people that take steroids take it for recovery, because you don't get hurt in a fight, you get hurt in training.
Yeah, that's true.
And I tell you, at 35, if you're considering going back and getting your card again in boxing, stay totally away from it. Don't let any of your friends convince you just once. However, the day you decide to hang up your license, you and I are going to have a long conversation. And afterwards, you're going to be like, oh, I know I couldn't do this as a professional. This is awesome.
Oh, yeah. They're not. But once again, like you said, when they cracked down on it in baseball, it changed the game. The margins are already, for the most part, in fighting so small. No one wants to ruin. Dude, it's better than it used to be, man. Like in terms of like regulation, it's better than it used to be, but it's still light years behind any sport with real money and attention on it. At least in America, I can't speak. Once again, I can't speak to the fight game in other countries where there's a bit more money and interest and less competition as well.
When you come to Brazil, one of the things that I didn't understand that I thought was very racist in jiu-jitsu tournaments, everybody kind of looked at the Brazilians kind of side-eye. And I could never understand why until I got here and I realized they look at steroids the way America looks at marijuana. It's like nobody really cares. No police officer. Right. Nobody in the hood over, his buddy got smuggled in some steroids to lose 10 pounds quicker, to gain 10 pounds of muscle. However, and this is something interesting I'll put towards you as we got to start wrapping up soon. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the only sport where I would think a young man who's 20 would be smart to use steroids. And I'll tell you my reasoning. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you're learning techniques that you're going to teach possibly for the rest of your life. But if you can go to class in the morning and in the evening with a good recovery and you're a good student, it's not like boxing where after you're done boxing, a tiny number of boxers become coaches. A tiny number of boxers are ever going to use those techniques again. Whereas in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you're going to be teaching and coaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu forever. Most Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coaches, a lot of people don't know this, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coaches have always been on testosterone because that's how a 50-year-old coach can still get on the mat and demonstrate to a 20-year-old kid. Like, I didn't understand age brackets under the age of 30. Now I understand age brackets because I was on the mat with a guy who, let's say, have I told you that story? He was just like me, roughly the same body type, roughly the same muscle mass. However, I was like 32, 33, and he was 20, 24. I was running for my life. I was using every dirty trick I could to keep him off my ass because I understood there's something about being 24 and strong. I mean, I was using, and the only reason he didn't catch me in a choker or submission is because I just knew basically enough clever tricks to play with my half guard and to sweep him and to get on top of him for a few seconds. It's just not fun. It's not fun. But at the same time, man, but at the same time, how many boxers have you heard of? It seems like a couple of times a month you hear a story about a boxer from some country who these punk kids try and yank his laundry away from him walking home or break into his house. The concept of how to hit somebody the right way, you can find an old man who spent his youth boxing that will still knock a young man completely unconscious if that young man is a street fighter.
Ooh, yeah.
And they're always surprised. They're always surprised that this 50-year-old guy who was just trying to peacefully walk home, maybe he's got a gut now. He doesn't look like the man, that had a six-pack and a fighter when he was 25, hauls off, and you can always tell by the way they move their feet. When you see somebody put that back foot down the right way, you're like, oh, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be bad.
I remember watching a video of this guy coming out of, it was some hood liquor store, and some punk kids were aggravating him. And they said, hey, you better leave that old man alone. Don't you know he's the champ? Now, who knows what he was a champion of or what weight class or what year it was. These punk kids kept aggravating him, and with just fluidity, he turned around, pivoted, bam, one shot on the concrete.
Mm.
It
kept on moving, because at that point, you're not even worried about going to, what are they going to do? Put you in jail for life if he lands the wrong way?
Yeah, a 50-year-old man puts out a 25-year-old guy. That's not going to fly in court like, oh, he did something wrong. It just But that's where you get to that whole. The more you learn about fighting, and the more you learn about martial arts, the less likely you are ever going to be to get into something like that. It just doesn't. It just like Omega Dread said, respect to the martial arts. You just get into that situation where things just don't bother you. You're just like, okay.
Yeah, you really just want to end the situation. That's one of the things that I take so seriously, is the respect for a human, specifically like how easy it is to injure and put someone down. Like an old man with the right technique can drop somebody like easily with the right technique, especially if they don't know what they're doing. But like, it's not like when I throw the right technique against somebody who's trained and knows how to react and slip and is looking and then has got some muscle memory. Like, no, if I steal off on somebody on the street, they should put me in jail. Like that. Like, I really believe that because I am trained and I should be able to walk away. Like, I know how to kill somebody, and not necessarily I'm thinking let me kill that person. It's that I can deliver enough force without too much effort to where the average person is just. I mean, at the very least, they're gonna have a really bad day, right? Like, I can't steal off on somebody, but I know that, and I know that from being hit that hard and hitting someone that hard. There's respect for the fragility of a human being.
Well, I spent a little bit of my college time. God, you don't know this. I was a bouncer for a while, and I saw what happens with violence. I remember seeing people get hit outside of the club and go down and get their head knocked. I remember being in high school, there was a kid who, in a basketball riot, hit another kid with a chair. The other kid died.
Yeah, that's great.
You just run from violence because you understand, man, this could go bad in so many different ways. It's not even worth it.
Yeah, you want no parts of that stuff, man.
Yeah, when you see somebody who knows judo or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, because here's the mistake, and you know this. What does a Hollywood street fighter do? They try to get as close to you as possible. And if you're going up against somebody who actually understands distance, rushing up on that guy is a bad move, because most people don't know how to deal with a body lock. Like, if you get both your arms around somebody's waist, they don't understand that they can't knock. They don't understand that the punches don't hurt anymore, except now I'm going to throw you on your head. They don't know that. For them, fighting is we stand here and punch each other in the face. One simple foot sweep, but that's the beautiful thing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I have the option of just being on top of you and smothering you and saying, hey, we're not going to, this is not okay. Why don't we just call the police? There's plenty of YouTube videos of a guy, 3 o'clock in the morning, he's trying to get some waffles and some drunk guy comes in. He just picks him up, throws him down, and says, hey, man, listen. Why don't we just not do this? I'm going to get up and kick it. You're not going to get up.
That's funny as hell, man.
Well, listen, I want to hear some more field reports from life in Portugal. I hope that you get to come out to Brazil, and trade some Portuguese with me.
Yeah, that's now the language is not nearly as intimidating, and it'll continue to be less and become less intimidating as I practice and use it more. Because, fortunately, every day, even if I don't have to talk to anyone, read, see, I try to watch a little news at night to just get used to hearing it, and it's all coming together.
Yeah. Well, listen, we got to do this more often. I got to put together that athletes panel where we get to talk about body stuff. Don't let yourself get out of shape. You can always walk away from boxing, but you can't walk away from the gym, because I had a couple of weeks during what they call winter here, where I kind of, I let myself get a little lax. And I'll tell you, that first day back, it's just...
It's the worst, man. I've had a few first days back, and you're just like, why did I do this? And then, you tell yourself you're never going to do it again. And then it happens. So like, now I'm pretty good at routine and consistency, because I've changed my mindset to training like a fighter. Like, because that's how it is. For a while, all you know is train like this or it doesn't count. Now I'm like, okay, no, I can get up. And as long as I do like, 100 push-ups and sit-ups and run 2 miles, I'm all right. Like, or go, bang out a little bit of this. That's the hardest thing for me now, is doing like lightweight, because I'm doing it to build muscle and volume, to help continue to keep my body fat low, and plus to combat any natural kind of atrophy that happens as just a result of getting a little older, and trying to get in front of that before it's a big deal is huge. So now I'm not necessarily trying to pound out heavyweight and be super explosive. I'm just trying to maintain. There'll be a time and a place for a real explosive workout should I want that. But right now I'm just trying to not get out of shape and keep the body fat low. And we do that, keep the body fat low and the muscle high. That's easy. And a lot of it's diet too. I eat really smart. Thank goodness.
This right here, I always feel like lifting weights is fun, so I don't really consider it work. But when I'm on that treadmill and I try to get in, what I try to do is I'm being honest here, I fail sometimes. Every other day, 2.5 miles on the treadmill.
That's good, man.
I put on my hoodie, and people think I wear the hoodie just because it keeps me hot and sweating. It doesn't. I put on my hoodie when I'm lifting weights or I'm in the gym in general, because it's kind of like a horse with blinders. I don't want to look at anybody else. I don't want anybody to look at me. I felt there was one time I was in the gym and this girl kind of gave me the look, and I almost felt guilty, but I just started mean mugging her like, bitch, do you not I'm in the temple right now. Don't look at me, because it's a good way to mess your life up. And like, there are very few sacred spaces to me, but where you are, I had to mean mug her and like look at her like, don't talk to me. Do you not see my hood up? Don't talk to me. Because I don't want to ever have the gym become a place where I go to for anything other than
right. You go, you get the work in, you get out. That's what it's. I mean, yeah. And when it becomes something else, then it loses, in my opinion, anyhow. And I think you'll probably co-sign this. I think when you give a place a different purpose, it takes away the energy and then really the mindset you go into that place. With. It's like what they say about going to sleep. Don't use your bed for anything but sleep and sex, right? Well, because if you start laying to watch TV or read, well, now you've got this other kind of cue that you're going to be working and fighting against in your mind. Like, okay, should I watch something? Should I read? Lay down? You might be exhausted and your brain really can't focus on getting to sleep. Same with the gym. But if the gym turns into this place where you're going to meet women, are you gonna be training?
Yeah, and I'm thinking, why can't you meet women after the gym stuff? Because the gym stuff makes the women part easier.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I got a buddy of mine. He loves talking to girls in the gym. Like that's his like that's where his pickup spot. And I'm like, that is just so blatantly disrespectful.
Weird, like that. In my opinion, it's chasing two rabbits. You're not going to catch any one of them. You're not going to get in shape. And like, how many girls can you really pick up? Because either if your game is that good, why not use it someplace where you can dress and look better but it's probably not that good, and you're missing valuable workout time. But let's say you still go get the work in,
and that's also one of those places where it's like, I think, and I use this word sparingly because I'm very aware of the negative connotations. That, in my opinion, seems creepy.
Yeah, I would say so.
Like, what is your in between sessions while she's doing her leg extension? Like, if you're at the supermarket, you can strike up a conversation about the avocados. You can strike up a conversation, at the corner store about, excuse me, do you know where they keep the soap? But what are you going to do? What are you going to say to this woman at the gym who clearly is there to look pretty? Why would you even mess her day up like that?
Right.
Catch her. I wouldn't say in the parking lot, but I'm like, can't you? I don't know. But here's the thing: I wouldn't want to work out. I know a lot of guys that take their girlfriends and wives to the gym with them. Not the kid.
Nope. Not the kid.
Nope. Because here's the thing: she'll be mad because I'm actually there to work out and not have fun.
Right. It's a different. It's one of those usually almost certainly no-win situations. There's nothing. Either you are gonna not be able to get the good workout in, or are you gonna end it? You're gonna think you're looking at girls and then start getting insecure and checking in that, and then there's just no win. Like there's no win. And getting out of my own, brutal red pill sexist mindset, I've met some personal trainers out here that are women, and I'm really considering hiring a personal trainer because I'm changing some of my, I'm just changing my weightlifting routines. And it's good to have someone tell you, I might feel good about my squat technique, but it's good to have someone who knows what they're doing in Brazil, because I love that they're a vain country. You can run across amateur bodybuilders and people who are in tournaments for bodybuilding, like throwing a dead cat at the gym. And so I'm really considering, there are 2 women at the gym and they do personal training, and I'm really considering working with them for a couple of months to see, what I can do. Because I've never been trained by a woman in any athletic discipline. And I wonder, is it different? Maybe it's my imagination? And shouldn't I give them a chance? Because clearly they know how to get results. Yeah, that's true. You can't, what, on a side note to end this whole, I actually might be able to, never mind, lights blue. So I don't know how well you can see my haircut, but I finally figured out how to get my haircut here. And it was by a Brazilian chick, and I was like, "Oh man, them chicks cut my hair." And she hooked it up, man. I think one of the better haircuts. Took a lot of effort. I learned a lot about the haircut game. I learned you can communicate with the number of the guard and everything. I pulled up a picture. I actually put up a picture of Idris Elba, his haircut, and I was like, I want what that guy's got. And I don't remember what the picture's from.
It's not the haircut. You're not gonna get. It's not the haircut. Trust me. With Idris Elba, I want what he's got. No.
Oh yeah, well, I mean the hairstyle. That's but yeah, I ended up working out well though. Yeah, so now my
shout out to Idris Elba. Man among men. Apparently, when they were talking about, some people were talking about doing like a documentary about him and fighting. He was like, "Yes, I am really going to do some kickboxing," and he straight up trained and fought.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
This is not a bullshit match. He straight up fought, and that's to me, that's success. Being able to say, I put myself in a position in life as an adult male to dedicate how many weeks of my training of my life to living out a fantasy that's not going to make me any money. It might not even be good for me, but I'm so secure and I've achieved such success. Like for me, it might be traveling the world and doing jiu-jitsu every place I can. For him, it's like he actually did it. He got himself to a point where he was so successful, he could say, I'm going to go do a kickbox. Could you imagine being his Could you imagine being his manager when he was like, yeah, it's me. I got a project I want to work on. Oh, what is it going to be, a new opera? Or is it going to be, are you going to play another superhero? No, I'm going to do some kickboxing. And they're like, a movie about a kickboxer? No, I'm actually going to, because no actor is ever allowed to actually get hit. Like when Will Smith was training for Ali, one of the famous quotes from the trainer was like, I don't know how to train an actor, I can train a fighter, but they had to remind him, under no circumstances can you get hit. And Idris Elba was in a situation where this dude was like, how many times am I going to get to be able to hit a man like Idris Elba in the face?
Oh man, that's awesome. No, actually I've been meaning to check that out. I've been wondering where these fighting pictures are from when they. I thought he was just posed for them or something, but I guess
Oh
that's
no! Oh no! 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 He 100%. You know, there are a lot of times where these actors and musicians will call each other out. I'll kick your ass. You notice nobody has ever been like, "Hey, I want to do a kickboxing match for charity with Idris Elba." No, because he might just rearrange your skull for you.
that's excellent.
Hey,
Well,
listen, it looks like the sun's kind of getting low in the sky.
yeah, it's getting low, and I didn't want to get up and go turn the light on. So yeah, so on that note, I'm gonna take off and get some dinner and finish other stuff I got to do. So it was good times, man, as always, and I look forward to the next one.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, see you.
Bye. And you know what, folks? It was the thing I forgot is because I spent so much time showing you guys where to follow him on social media. I always tell people I do YouTube, but I'm not a YouTuber. And you can check me out on my LinkedIn page. I'm a professional editor, writer. People pay me to do everything from ghostwriting websites and writing resumes to editing papers, articles, and books into clear university level English. And if you find me on LinkedIn, I tell everybody, look at my resume second. What I'd like for you to do is go look all the way down at my, what do we call it down here, recommendations, because these are the people that know me professionally and they can attest to my professionalism and my ability. And I tell people to look at that first. But listen, I say that to say this. This was a good chat. I love hanging out with Ed. And I hope everybody has a great day wherever you are. Thank you. Be sure to click the subscribe and the bell and the like and share this somewhere. It's important to share this because this is how we meet new people. Share it on your Twitter or your Instagram or your LinkedIn or I'm going to put this on my LinkedIn as well. Or share it on your Tinder profile. Say, hey, listen, we both swiped on each other. Why don't we have something good to talk about later? Check out what these guys talked about, and I want to hear your opinion. Give them something more to think about. And I say that to say this. Goodbye. I love you all. Hope you're having a great day. I'm off to